Have you ever been on a long road trip late at night, passing by a lonely hotel in the middle of nowhere? The kind of place that looks old, empty, and forgotten. Have you ever wondered how places like that survive? Or if they even should? Because sometimes those places don't survive. Sometimes they've been abandoned for years, and sometimes whatever is inside them is no longer meant for the living. Welcome to Sky Horror. I'm your narrator, and tonight I'm going to tell you a terrifying true-style story about a roadside hotel that should never have been entered. This story comes from a man in Vietnam. For his privacy, we'll call him Quang. This happened more than 10 years ago during a long holiday. At the time, Quang was working as a restaurant manager in the city. The restaurant had just opened, which meant extremely long hours. Almost every night, he stayed late to work overtime. By the time he got home, he was already exhausted. His wife worked at another busy restaurant as a server, and her schedule was just as heavy. Because both of them were always working, they had to make a painful decision. Their 3-year-old daughter would stay with Quang's mother in his hometown, which was in another province far away. They hated being apart from their child, but they believed they were doing this for her future. They wanted to earn as much money as possible so she could have a better life. One Friday night, something rare happened. Both Quang and his wife finally had time off together. While eating dinner and watching TV, Quang's wife suddenly said they should drive back home that very night to see their daughter. Quang was tired beyond words. All he wanted was a hot shower and sleep. But he knew chances like this didn't come often, so he agreed. They packed some clothes, grabbed a small bag, and left the city around 11 p.m. The roads were almost empty, and Quang drove faster than usual. They made better time than expected. When they were about 2 hours away from his hometown, Quang suggested they stop somewhere to rest. If they arrived too early, his mother would have to wake up, and no one would get any proper sleep. His wife agreed. They slowed down and searched for signs of a hotel or motel. After miles of darkness, they finally saw an old, rusty sign pointing down a narrow side road. It said there was a hotel inside. With no other options, Quang turned off the main road. They drove for a long time, surrounded by trees and dirt paths, but there was no hotel in sight. His wife said the sign must be outdated and that the hotel was probably gone. Quang agreed and carefully turned the car around. But after driving back for about a mile, they suddenly saw the hotel. A large building stood right beside the road. Both of them froze. They were sure it wasn't there before. Confused and exhausted, they decided not to think too much about it. They were desperate for rest. The hotel wasn't fancy. It looked old, tall, and creepy. The parking lot was completely empty. Still, they parked and got out. As they walked toward the entrance, Quang's wife held his arm tightly and whispered that something felt wrong. The place felt cold and uncomfortable. Quang felt it too, but he pretended everything was fine. Inside, the lobby was silent. Quang rang the bell at the front desk. An elderly woman appeared from a back room, smiling calmly. Quang asked for a simple room for the night. She wrote his name in a book and gave him a key for a room on the 3rd floor. As they turned to leave, the woman said something strange. She told them to take one item from a box near the stairs and bring it to their room. Quang didn't understand and ignored it. But his wife picked up an envelope. Up in the room, Quang went to shower. Suddenly he heard his wife scream. She had opened the envelope. Inside was a red talisman. Terrified, she threw it away and begged Quang to leave. Why would a hotel give guests a talisman unless something was wrong? Quang was too tired to think clearly. He told her she was overreacting and went to bed. He fell asleep instantly. Later, he woke up feeling like he was drowning. Then he heard someone trying to unlock the door. A voice said it was room service. Quang checked the peephole. No one was there. He opened the door. Only a tray of rotting food sat outside. Then he saw a hotel worker smiling unnaturally through the peephole. When he opened the door again, nothing. He turned back to the bed and saw his wife standing on it, tying a rope to the ceiling fan. Before he could understand, she crawled under the bed, crying, saying someone told her to hide if she wanted to live. Kwang followed her. Under the bed, the smell of rot filled the air. The person beside him was no longer his wife. It was a dried corpse. Kwang screamed and ran. Moments later, he found his wife asleep in the car. She said she never went inside. She had felt uneasy and stayed outside. They drove away immediately. When Kwang looked back, the hotel was dark, abandoned, and gone. Later, he learned the truth. That hotel had been closed since 1992, so who did they meet that night? In Chinese belief, abandoned places are heavy with yin energy. Such places attract wandering spirits. Talismans used there are often traps, not protection. Mirrors and peepholes can open doors between worlds. Kwang and his wife didn't meet one spirit. They met many. So remember this. If you're ever driving late at night and see an empty hotel with no lights, no cars, and a heavy feeling in your chest, don't stop. Some places no longer welcome the living.